of engaging Republicans. The House is using very restrictive rules and procedures. They're finding themselves acting very much as Republicans did with their majority under George Bush, partly because they feel now they have a new president, they have to deliver on this agenda, and they haven't been able to entice Republicans into those negotiations. The reality is that Obama will depend upon his party almost entirely in the early going, but over time he encounters problems that simply can't be managed in that way. I mean, cap and trade is a good example. There are too many Democrats representing coal-producing and consuming districts and states to get that level of support. On funding for Afghanistan and Pakistan, there's real skepticism, understandably so, on the Democratic side of the aisle, and those funds will be approved with broad support from Republicans. So there are some issues, and of course, one of the most interesting issues will be health care. Let me say this is where I see a similarity between the Rudd government and the Obama government. The question is, in the face of the financial and economic crisis, do you set aside your campaign agenda and focus on the immediate and adapt everything to that, or do you look for ways of beginning to make some progress on the longer-term agenda, figuring eventually the economy is going to recover, and if you don't get a start on some of these policies, you'll never make any headway. But of course, the difficulty is the sticker shock associated. I mean, you Australians get sticker shock very easily. Penny ante public debts and deficits. We count our annual deficits in trillions now, not billions. And of course our public debt, which Clinton was beginning to pay down by running some surpluses, and which led then Fed Chair Alan Greenspan to fret that this could be horrible. We might pay down our entire public debt, and then the government would have to own equity in private sector corporations. Ye God, that would be terrible. I'm glad nothing like that has happened, right? Obama, CEO of Chrysler and GM and AIG and Citigroup, and alas, at least we got half of it. We do own a fair bit of some major companies, but we didn't pay down the national debt. We'll probably go from 40 to 60% over this period of time. It's inevitable. We need it in the short term. The question is when the pivot is made and whether it needs to be put in place in this budget for Obama and for Rudd, or whether more of it can be done when one sees what the contours of the recovery will be. So it's a tricky business. Obama, like Rudd, has decided to go ahead with health reform. There are encouraging signs about this. The political environment, economic environment is very different. He's going about it much more intelligently than the Clintons did back in 93, 94. You see sort of theatrics now of stakeholders who've opposed in the past wanting to be part of the solution. But make no mistake, we haven't yet solved some of the stickiest problems. There is no consensus broadly that would ensure legislative victory. I think putting in the budget resolution reconciliation instructions on health care, which provides an opportunity to avoid the filibuster and pass legislation by only 50 votes, was not a strategy to say Democrats are going to write this themselves, but Republicans, something's going to pass, and if you want to have any impact on it, it's time to get serious about legislating now. But it's to say Obama really believes over the longer haul to deal with health care, energy, and the environment and then to make the small adjustments in Social Security that are needed, and then the larger adjustments in public health programs will require the participation of both parties. So he will keep up his rhetoric of inclusiveness. He'll keep inviting Republicans in, and the hope is that if he maintains his popularity and the public maintains its view, which is that Obama's reaching out and trying, it's the opposition party that refuses to be reasonable. So their ratings sink while his soar. If that keeps up, eventually some Republicans will feel obliged to play ball. If they do, and there's not an automatic Republican opposition and permanent campaign to just say no, then Pelosi's going to be able to loosen the reins a bit, and Reid is going to find he doesn't need a supermajority for everything that he's trying to accomplish. But when he finds that, he'll find himself getting 65 or 70 votes for matters. That's the objective. The institution would develop in a more healthy fashion if that could happen. But the pressures on Republicans are from their ideological pole. That's what's driving them. There are a couple of exceptions, but not many right now. So the one thing you have to say is, however good a start Obama is off to, he has not delivered on his post-partisan politics and cannot be expected to anytime soon. But if the scenario works out as he hopes, with economic recovery and time for a healthy reelection, he may well be in a better position to begin to change the structural character of our politics by his second term. Thank you.